The secrets of a perfect bust cage is basically three. The way you stitch your ridgeline, that is one, in a curved manner, that is one. Then secondly is the grain line that you cut your fleshing materials. In this tutorial, I used wadding and hairstay for the fleshing. So the grain line of cutting these things is very, very, very important. And then the way you iron the bust cage after stitching all of this while fleshing is also very, very important. So let's get right into it. Hi creatives, you're welcome to another interesting tutorial. Dima here, and in this tutorial, I will be showing you every step you will take to make a perfect bust cage on a bustier. It doesn't have to be a cupped corset. Here, I'm going to explain to you how you will use it on a bustier. Alright, so right now, this is what we'll be working with: the ridgeline bone, the hairstay, and the wadding. You can replace the wadding with fiber. Okay, so right now I am going to measure this, and it gave me 3/8, just in case you want to know the measurements of the ridgeline I used. And the one on the waistline there is half inch, so if you have a tinier one, you can as well use it for your bust caging, but anything bigger than this is too much. So 3/8 or less is fine. So here I'm measuring 4.5 inches, and I'm marking a guideline like this, which I took to the under bust. I had to dim the light here so that you see all the lines. Okay, the lines I'll be taking to stitch down the ridgeline. So I'll go ahead and start stitching it and put you through the whole process of doing that. So I'll be taking it vertically and horizontally all through the process of stitching down this ridgeline. So come with me as I show you every bit of it. At some stage, I will take you to the machine so that you see everything I'm doing. So right here, I've stitched the one that is to be run under the bust to the side. Just as you can see, I stitched one side, the outer part of it. Okay, ensure that you are stitching on the parts that should be stitched on this ridgeline so that your thread will not be cutting. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place it like this and stitch it down all over the vertical lines. Please ensure the boning is curving downwards, like in a convex curve. Okay, just the way you saw me explain. So you can see that I've stitched this one down. Now to do the main one, which is how you curve this, horizontal lines, I am going to take you to the machine so that you see every bit of what I did. I'm just using my pencil, but I know that you cannot see it well, but I can't really use marker so that it doesn't stain the cloth. So this is the guideline. This is me drawing the guideline. You can see how I'm curving my hand while showing the guideline. So it has to follow that curved manner for your cup to sit really nicely the way the pattern is. If you don't follow it appropriately, your cup is going to apply flat even when your pattern is correctly made. Okay, so I'm going to take you to the machine right now and put you through the whole process of stitching this horizontal ridgeline bonings. So guys, you have to place your ridgeline. Just watch closely to see what I'm going to go. I'm just going to tape the tip first. Then I'm going to place the ridgeline in a curved manner like this. It's going to be facing down. The curve is going to be facing down. Okay, for me to start stitching. Before I start stitching, you have to ensure that your curve is facing down. I hope you understand. You now place it inside the one that was stitched earlier, just like this. You have to place it just like this and start stitching from the upper side. Okay, ensure that you stitch on the part that you're supposed to be stitching on so that your thread will not be cutting. Watch how I am curving this. Okay, you can still pull out some of this ridgeline. Sorry, I did not cover that in this tutorial, and I did not pull mine either. I felt I can manage it. That is why I had to go ahead stitching it like this. Usually there's a way you pull out some, plastic wires from the ridgeline to make it curve easily if you want to place it in a curved place. But this curve is not so much, so I felt I can manage it. If it's a curved bustier, maybe I would have pulled it because that one is really, really curvy. Okay, but this one I felt I could manage it, and I did. Okay, so I'm just stitching it down. When I'm getting close to that end, I'll just curve it, following the curve that I have already drawn. I'll just curve my hand like that and stitch it till I get to the end. Okay, now this part is supposed to enter inside the first curved ridgeline that passed by the bust sides through the under bust to the other side. Okay, so right now I am stitching the second side of this ridgeline just as you can see me do, and yeah, this is what I have basically. So this is how you're going to be taking it gradually till you get to the other end. Fine. So you cut your thread and cut any excess thread that may be coming out like this. So when you cut it, you now go ahead and follow the second line that will be passing through the bust point like this. Follow it the way it was drawn, okay, and stitch it down. Now that is what I also did for this one, just the same method I used for the first. When I'm getting close to the other end, I cut it in a way that is enough to enter inside but not to poke out through the fabric, okay, like forcing it to relax inside that one that will be caging it. So now I've stitched the second side and this is what I have. You can see that the bust cup is already out, okay, the ridgeline has already pushed it out. You can see how nice it's looking. Now I'm going to stitch the neckline off camera, but before then I'm going to stitch the second side of this first ridgeline that I stitched, just to cage up every other boning that is in this bust cage. Now after doing that, I'm going to be stitching down on that sweetheart neck. I'm going to be stitching bone lines to the center front, yes, like that, and then from the center front to the other side. That means it will be in two parts. I'm not going to use one ridgeline to run the whole sweetheart. One will get from the beginning to the center and then from the center to the other side. And you can see how nice this bust cage and the cup is. You can see how nice this caging is sitting. Follow this process and you will get a perfect bust cage. Trust me, you get a perfect bust cage. So having done this, the next thing I'm going to do is just to put the bust ham under the bust cups like this, and I am going to go ahead and iron. I usually iron it first to take the curve of this ham before I start applying my, what is it called, the fleshing. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to apply your fleshing. This is the wording that I'm using. That is the very light one. That's what I'm using to flesh it, because this is the one that can really stick at once. If you use the thicker one, it's not going to stick. So I'm going to place it on a bias grain line. You can see how I placed it. Watch very well, and you see that I placed it on triangle. It's just that this wording is looking small, but by the time I start cutting the hairstay, you will understand. So I'm going to gum it using iron. Okay, now I've gummed it using my steam iron is preferable. So I'm going to trim every part that I do not want. Okay, right now that it has gummed somehow to the caged bust, I'm going to trim it like this. Just watch closely what I'm doing and you will understand every step I took to do all of this. So I had to trim it all like this and then turn it over to ensure I also trim it. I trimmed it in a way that this wording is still going to cover all of the bones really nicely. It's going to cover all of the bones really nicely. I'll do the same with the hairstay as well. You can see that it's not leaving any darts under the cup. Usually when you use, you can see I'm trimming off 1 inch. I have to say this now. I'm trimming off 1 inch along that neckline so that it doesn't make the neckline bulky and it will not relax when we finally stitch down our neckline. So that is all I did for here. And you can see there are no darts. That is because it's on a bias grain line. If you use a cross grain line, it's going to leave darts under the bust or here and there. Okay, but when you use a bias grain line, everything will just line, relax smoothly. Now I'm measuring here and also measuring the longest part this way. Okay, that is horizontally and vertically the widest part, and I'm going to use the measurements it gave me to measure out my hairstay, because the hairstay is going to go on top of this wording. Now watch how I'm going to cut the hairstay. That will give you an idea of the grain line of the wording. Okay, it's the same grain line I'm using for this hairstay, like diagonal like this, that I used on the wording, because this way it stretches even more. Okay, so this is the grain line I'm going to be using. So I'll just measure it like this to ensure that it is up to the length that I want, and then I'll go ahead and cut out. You can as well place it like this, the stretchier parts of the hairstay, but this very one is definitely going to leave that. It's not as if it will be bad, but it's going to leave that. That is why I prefer using the diagonal, that is the cutting on bias grain, for this caging, that is fleshing the cage. Okay, so right now I took the longest part that I got vertically, that's about 10 inches, and I also measured it all along like this and cut it out. When I got to this point, I had to ensure that I also got exactly what I got horizontally. Now, having cut it out like this, I'll now go ahead and cut it open. Now, this makes this to have four piles because before I folded on triangle, it was already on fold. So when I folded on triangle, it will now give me four layers of this hasty unbiased green. Unbiased green, very, very important. Okay, so right now I'll bring back my top and I'm going ahead to layer it one by one, ensuring that the sticky part is facing down while the non-sticky part is facing up. So that is how I layered it. You can use as much as 6 layers to cover this, but I felt 4 was nice and I had to do this. I'll go ahead and use my iron while the ham is under it. The ham has to be under it at every point that you are ironing so that it will help keep the shape and the curve of the bust. So having said that, I'm going to trim the excess like this to take the shape of the sweetheart neckline. Now, I did not trim extra 1 inch from this neckline because it is hairstay and it's not going to affect that neckline. That's why I didn't bother trimming it out. And at the end of the day, this is what we have, and I will go ahead and put the yoke on the fabric and turn it up with this lining because all of this was going on the lining. Please, you can use wording to pad the top proper as well, the light wording, okay, to give the caging extra structure. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, this method is very ideal for busty clients and even anyone at all. Did you learn anything from this? Will you try this out? You can see how I pinned down there. I had to stretch it to ensure it is perfect on the top. I pinned it there and I'm going to even go ahead and tack it invisibly from the reverse of the top, and this is what the outcome looks like. I love it. It came out so nice. It's just that I've not finished this clothes at the point of filming this tutorial. A lot will still go into this cloth, like embellishing it with this fabric because this is what the skirt is like. So I'm going to trim some of these designs and patch it up on the dress and still put more of the bling blings to make it just come out popping and really, really nice. Okay, don't worry, when I finish it up completely, I can post it in the shot so that you all can see what the final outcome of this gorgeous dress is, probably when my clients will be wearing it. Do you like this? Are you gonna try it? Thanks for watching. Bye.